The Mother Jones Heritage Project for inviting the mayor's office again for 3 years in a row. Happy birthday, of course, to Mother Jones. Please give it up. And I wanted to take a moment to offer just respect to the ferocity and the tenacity of who Mother Jones is and her legacy. For folks who don't know me, prior to my time in the mayor's office, I was the policy director for a labor rights organization called Raise the Floor Alliance. Raise the Floor Alliance is an alliance of worker centers around the city of Chicago, county of Cook, and the state of Illinois. And for those who don't know, worker centers are often smaller organizations that fight to ensure that folks who do not have labor union representation are still able to organize and make demands of their bosses to fight for policies and the things that working class people need on the job. And because of their size and the way that they operate, they have to operate with a level of ferocity and tenacity, one that we see in Mother Jones herself. It is that same ferocity that Raise the Floor Alliance, alongside Chicago Federation of Labor and other labor unions, were able to fight and win paid time off in the city of Chicago for workers all across the city. It is that same tenacity and ferocity that Raise the Floor Alliance and again, labor union partners and restaurant workers were able to fight to ensure that we eliminate the sub-minimum wage and restaurant workers across the city of Chicago will be paid the same amount as every other worker when it relates to minimum wage. All of this happened under Mayor Brandon Johnson. And Mayor Brandon Johnson, embodies that same tenacity and ferocity in his defense for the labor movement. He has often called himself the most pro-labor mayor in the United States of America. But there's a reason that he does that. Because when City Council passed legislation to strip away the pay increases for restaurant workers, primarily black and brown women in the city of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson stood up and vetoed that legislation. Where the past administrations failed at this and they required a teacher strike to ensure that a teacher's contract would get done, Mayor Johnson was able to ensure that there was no teacher strike and there was a historic contract for Chicago teachers. That same ferocity and that same tenacity is the reason that during the last city budget fight, this mayor said that instead of asking working people to pay another dime, that we are going to ensure that we are going to tax the rich and that we will protect our public workers. Now, this ferocity and this tenacity that Mayor Johnson brings into this fight is not new. It is a summation of the fight of unionists before him. It is a summation of people just like Mother Jones. And that is where that tenacity and that ferocity comes from. Because you know what they said about that lady, Mother Jones? They said she was the most dangerous woman in America. They said there was a district attorney, I can't remember where he was from, I think it was Virginia. But there was a district attorney that said when Mother Jones would visit a state that was, existing in peace and tranquility, that by the time that she left, workers would be on the streets demanding more. And it is because she is laser focused on the fight for the working class. So much so that they tried to say that she was against women's suffrage and the women's right to vote. And when they asked her if she was anti the women's right to vote, she says, I ain't anti nothing that increases the power of the working class. Because she knew that as important as it was for the right to vote, she knew that the revolution was not going to happen at the ballot box, but it was going to happen in the streets. She knew that the revolution was going to happen on the shop floor, and it would happen when the boss understood that this world does not move without its workers. And it is that same tenacity and ferocity that Mayor Brandon Johnson is excited to bring to this May Day when he joins the rally and marches with workers across the city of Chicago. And so with that, I have a letter from the mayor of the city of Chicago. All these words were my words, so I'm just reading his words now. It says, "Dear friends, As mayor and on behalf of the city of Chicago, I want to thank you all for hosting this year's Mother Jones birthday celebration. This annual gathering is a powerful reminder that the legacy of Mother Jones continues to live through worker solidarity and the ongoing fight for dignity and justice. At a time when communities across the country are navigating escalating federal attacks on immigrant and workers' rights, the erosion of due process, and broader threats to civil liberties, the life and work of Mother Jones reminds us that collective action has always been our path forward. In Chicago, we have responded through the Protecting Chicago initiative marked by stronger coordination across government and community partners, standing firm in our commitment to protect families, uphold rights, and ensure that all residents can live with safety and dignity. These efforts are rooted in the same values that Mother Jones championed: courage, solidarity, and a demand for justice. We are also grateful to our partners in Minneapolis who have demonstrated what it means to stand up against forces that aim to divide us. In particular, we recognize Kieran Knutsen and the broader movement of workers and organizers in Minneapolis who took bold action in defense of all of their neighbors. As we celebrate Mother Jones, we are reminded that her spirit is alive in every act of resistance, every worker organizing for fair conditions, in every community refusing to be divided. We need that spirit now more than ever. Thank you for continuing to uplift her legacy and for bringing people together in her honor. Sincerely, Mayor Brandon Johnson. Thank you.